buy chicken broth in bulk. The stock market. Today, I'm going to recap a 2012 action thriller film called Jack Reacher. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The film opens in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. A man drives a van into a parking garage across the Allegheny River from PNC Park, dropping a quarter into the meter. He readies a Springfield Armory M1A and assassinates 5 people on the river's North Shore Trail from long range before driving off. A moment later, the police, led by Detective Emerson, arrive and discover a shell casing as well as the quarter that was used to pay for parking. A fingerprint on the coin belongs to James Barr, a former U.S. Army sniper. When the police raid his house, they find the van, equipment for reloading rifle cartridges, the rifle in question, and Barr asleep in his bed. During an interrogation by Emerson and District Attorney Alex Rodan, Barr is offered a choice between life in prison in exchange for a full confession or guaranteed death row, as Rodan has never lost a conviction. They are bewildered when Barr instead takes a notepad and writes, "Get Jack Reacher." Jack Reacher is a ghost, with no phone, credit card, or email address. A former Army military police officer and a brilliant investigator, Reacher has proven himself as a good soldier in Iraq, Afghanistan, and the Balkans. After hearing the news of Barr and the shooting, Reacher enters Emerson and District Attorney Alex Rodan's conversation to ask about him. Emerson and Rodan deny Reacher's request to view the evidence but agree to let him see Barr, who was attacked by fellow inmates and is now in a coma. Reacher meets Barr's defense attorney, Helen Rodan, the district attorney's daughter, who has been saddled with the apparently hopeless task of saving Barr from the death penalty. Helen tells Reacher that if he agrees to be her investigator, he can view the evidence. But Reacher retaliates that he isn't interested in cleaning Barr's name. He explains that during his service in Iraq, Barr went on a killing rampage but was not charged because his victims were under investigation for multiple rapes and the U.S. Army wanted them forgotten. Reacher pledged to take down Barr if he did anything similar again. Reacher agrees to investigate if Helen visits the victims' families to learn about the people murdered that day. Reacher goes to the crime scene and finds inconsistencies about the location, thinking that a trained shooter would have done the killings from the cover of the van on the nearby Fort Duquesne Bridge. In the evening, when Reacher enters the bar, a woman named Sandy approaches him. At first, he believes Sandy is a hooker, but when her friends arrive looking for trouble, Reacher engages in a battle with them, knocking him out one by one with his remarkable hand-to-hand combat skills, resulting in his arrest by the cops. Reacher recognizes that this encounter has been staged and that someone is attempting to persuade him to discontinue his investigation. Helen later released him, and they continued their investigation after she revealed the identities of all the victims. After Helen informs Reacher of her findings, he claims that the owner of a nearby construction business was the intended victim, with the other victims serving as a cover-up, meaning that only 4 people were murdered at random. Then Reacher asks for Barr's credit card records, as well as a list of places James Barr frequents, including gun ranges. The next day, Reacher searches for Sandy and finds her at work. She claims she was instructed to seduce Reacher at the bar that night by someone named Jeb. Reacher goes Jeb's house to continue his investigation based on this information. Reacher is attacked by multiple men there, but he manages to win the fight. Unfortunately, Jeb isn't there because he was killed a few days ago by the same guys who killed the other 5 victims. With all of the evidence that Reacher has gathered on his own, he believes James Barr is innocent. He claims that a skilled sniper like Barr will not shoot from a parking lot, preferring instead to fire from a highway bridge. There is no camera up there. He never has to get out of the van, there is no evidence left behind, and his escape is short. After seeing the file of one victim about the construction company Olene Archer against Lebendauer Enterprise, they discover the conspiracy behind it all. Later, Charlie and his men murder Sandy, and Reacher is framed of her murder. Using cars and helicopters, the police, led by Detective Emerson, pursue him. He gets out of the car and hides behind a group of people waiting for the bus at the right time. As a result, he is fleeing the police pursuit. Emerson and Rodan then go to Helen's office in the intention of discovering more about Reacher's location, but she refuses to say where he is and does not believe Reacher murdered Sandy. Suddenly, Helen receives a call from Reacher, who informs her that one of them, either Rodan or Emerson, is involved in this case and advises her to be cautious when talking with them. In following scene, Reacher visits a shooting range where James Barr used to train. He meets the owner, Martin Cash, and requests information on James Barr. Martin, on the other hand, appears to be hesitant at first, as if he doesn't want to reveal the truth. They continue to negotiate until they reach a deal. Reacher must demonstrate his skills by firing 3 rounds into the center of the target. If Reacher succeeds, Martin will speak about James Barr and reveal everything he knows. Reacher accepted the challenge and completed it, albeit he did shoot 3 rounds in the center. Martin claims that James Barr was his finest shooter. Then he shows Reacher a security camera tape as well as other evidence that identifies the real shooter, Charlie, a close friend of James Barr's. Helen is conversing with her father and suspecting that he is involved. She has only now realized that it has been Emerson who has been involved all along. Emerson takes her to former Soviet political prisoner Zets Chelovic. The true perpetrators are a gang operating under the cover of a legitimate construction company. When Reacher dials Helen's number, it is Charlie who answers the phone. He was on the verge of killing Helen. This situation prompts Reacher to seek assistance from Martin Cash, and the two meet at the quarry site where Helen is kept. Martin only gives him a knife and will pose as a sniper from behind to protect him. Before facing the guards, Reacher calls Helen again to make sure she's okay. To outwit the guards, Reacher drives a car backwards and kills them one by one with Martin's help from above. Reacher gets into a fight with Charlie and both Charlie and Emerson die as a result. Then there's Reacher, who confronts Zets about the conspiracy. The Zets points out that Reacher has killed most of the witnesses against him and doubts that he would be convicted, while also admitting that any prison sentence he is likely to serve would be relatively easy compared to his time in Siberia. Reacher shoots the Zets in the head on the spot. Reacher and Cash flee the scene with confidence that Helen will clear Reacher's name. At the end of the movie, Barr awakens from his coma. He tells Helen that he has no recent memory, but believes that he must be guilty of the shootings. Barr's mental reconstruction of how he would have committed the shootings confirms Reacher's theory. Still unaware of all these developments, Barr is willing to accept both responsibility and his punishment, fearing that Reacher will seek justice if the law does not. However, it is evident he will be cleared of the charges. Meanwhile, Reacher, sitting on a bus, overhears a man verbally